Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC Live. Kay Murray and Janusz Michallik here with you. We're going to talk Premier League as always. We're also going to do a deep dive on La Liga's title race just a little later on in the show. But let's start, Janusz, by talking about Arsenal. Obviously, City haven't played for 10 days now, but Arsenal had that big win over Crystal Palace, which ended a 3-game losing streak in all competitions in style, might I add. They're now level on points with City. But they played a game more. They're 5 behind Liverpool as well. Now, on a recent FC show, former Arsenal player Kieran Gibbs said perhaps it's better for them to be, his words, not mine, flying under the radar and chasing and not leading this time around. Would you agree with him?
Flying under the radar. I mean, I don't, I respect Kieran. Obviously, he's played in that team, but I don't think Arsenal ever flies under the radar. So I don't think it makes a difference. The biggest problem Arsenal have is that last season the race was just between them and Manchester City. Now they have Liverpool, and to be quite honest, Liverpool are leading the league, and I don't think they're going to feel as uncomfortable as Arsenal did last year because Liverpool are Liverpool. They have an outstanding manager, better than Arteta, although to be fair, he's got more experience. And I think he's been there and he's done that. So I don't think that flying under the radar is the way to go for Arsenal here. They have to confirm in the next couple of weeks that they're in it to win it. Otherwise, they're going to be fighting for top 4. So in this particular one, I hear what he's saying, but I'm not sure I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that you hear what he's saying and you're not sure he agrees, but do you think that it did put some added pressure on them last season, that every week we were saying, not just us, obviously everybody, oh, maybe this is the year. Do you think they can win it? Do you think they can win it? Rather than having that said about them every single week now, they can just go about their business without that intense scrutiny on them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you still have to, you still have to go out there and win those games. I mean, perception is everything, I suppose, and it's still a young squad, one that perhaps wasn't ready last year and maybe won't be ready this year as well. But, I mean, there's never a great time to win it. You could, the progress. How do you measure progress? When it's there to be taken, you take it, right? So, as I've said, last year was a lost opportunity. This year, again, a very good start. We'll see how they finish because that's what it's all about. I mean, look at Manchester City. They continue to do the same. I don't want to make this about Manchester City, but, yeah, they were disinterested in the beginning of the season. They played the longest, so they had to take some time to get rested. And now is the time where every athlete, right? That's why you're in it. And, I'm going to Arsenal and saying, okay, this is the business end of the season. You got my attention. I want to win trophies right now. And this is what Arsenal is going to have to do. So there will never be a good time. And sitting here and talking about, well, is it a good time now? Is it better to be second? Is it better to be? No, I don't know. I don't buy into it. I mean, I think Arsenal are nearly good enough. It's the sort of season that crazy things are going to happen because you have 4 or 5 teams that are going to be taking points off each other, even if it's just that top 4 race. And, there's some big games, right, coming up. So now that I think about it, I'm not sure where Kieran was going with that one. With all due respect, I wish I, heard his explanation.
Yeah, maybe trying to take a little bit of the pressure off his former club. Now, I was going to bring up this name later, but given that we are talking about Arsenal, let me do so now. Ivan Toney, what a return it was to action from him after being out for 8 months. Now, there's been a lot of talk as to where he'll go next. He's made it very clear that he is ready to move on. Many saying he should stay faithful to Brentford right now and wait till the summer. But if he was to go to Arsenal, would it make them instant title contenders with him up front?
No. I mean, it would make the situation much better. It gives you a lot of options. I don't, by the looks of it, I don't think it's going to happen in January. So it's a non-story really for me. I'd be shocked if this happened at this moment. But yeah, Arsenal's got to build. I mean, it's Ivan Toney. Would he have helped them? Absolutely. By my estimation, I think Arsenal, in order to be a title contender year in or year out, need probably 3 or 4 players of I don't want to say the highest order, but players that you can count on week in and week out. So that squad is nowhere near deep enough, as we know, because for the most part they play the same team over and over, and they do pay the price for that from time to time.
Have they got the mentality to do it?
I think they do. I think they do. They've shown character. I think they have the spine that we've often talked about, right? I mean, we can't now turn around just be. I mean, they're still up there anyway. I mean, there was a very, very big win, by the way, the other day, and that win tells you everything about their mentality. It's been much, much better. And we can't go back to it because it was a low-hanging fruit in the past. Because look at this game against Palace. They were nowhere near their best. Forget the result, right? I mean, this wasn't a 5-0. But what they did in that game, Kay, and what I got out of this game more than anything, obviously they score goals, which they needed to as of late. But they went back to basics. Fundamentals, right? If things don't go your way, and let's face it, there wasn't a beautiful Arsenal way of playing. What do they do? Set pieces, important. They have 13 of them. They score goals on the counter, on the break, and transition, which they're very good at, because everything else was just average. But see, that's what teams, good teams, do to stay in touch in terms of that title race. That to me showed a very good mentality from Arsenal.
Let me go back to Ivan Toney, because I wanted to know what you thought of the dark arts in his game for Brentford and the free kick that he scored when he moved the ball twice before he did so, and even made the foam vanish somewhat himself.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done the same thing. Everybody else would have done the same thing.
You're okay with that? You like it?
Oh, I'm absolutely okay with that. I mean, didn't really move it all that much. I meant to look at the wall, but I'm sure it moved a little bit too. In some ways, it's a normal way. And look, I mean, did that? I mean, you still have to score that goal, right? I mean, you still have to have the quality to do it. So non-story, even though a lot of people seem to want to make that, but really non-story for every player in the world.
All right. Let me talk about Liverpool with you then, because obviously they are leading the way right now, and there's a lot to get to on Liverpool. But let's talk about Darwin Nunez, because obviously for some, the jury has been out on this player since he arrived, and you wonder if that's because of who he's followed, fellow countrymen like Luis Suarez, whether it's because it was the same summer as Erling Haaland that he came in. And so everybody was looking at him against him, because the stats actually favour him, Janusz. And it seems that when he's on the pitch, whether it's his goals or assists or not, goals are scored.
Yeah, I've been really harsh on him, but he's winning me over. I mean, I still don't think of him as this great goal scorer. That remains to be seen, and obviously it's a little bit maybe too early, to demand that from a player like this. But I think it was I saw it this morning. Pep Reinders, the assistant coach, said, he creates chaos, and that's a great explanation, I think, for what he does. And that chaos is actually pretty good, because either he assists, he's always dangerous, he always seems to be in the right spot, he pulls players out of position as well. And even if that doesn't translate to a goal or an assist very often, it really creates opportunities for others as well. And then you start looking at his games and his stats: 10 goals, 10 assists, I think, in all competitions. That's not all that bad. And so look, I think, I've learned to maybe stay a little bit quieter on him in terms of my demands, because maybe it's just too early. And I think he's, as of late, he's been superb.
So why were those your demands initially then? What do you think drew you to those conclusions in the beginning about this player?
Well, I mean, they remain, by the way. I'm just going to give him a little bit more slack because, I still think that technically he's got to get better. I mean, it's a big ask at this age, but, more efficient, his first, second touch at times at this level for a club like Liverpool, leave me wanting for more sometimes. And the issue has been that, he needs 3-4 chances to score a goal. And again, if you look some of the greats at Liverpool and what that position demands at the highest levels, right? Winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League, I just think that he's got to be more consistent in his scoring, right? It's a good thing that Liverpool will always create chances, and maybe that's why his stats are a little padded, and they're getting better and better because they are an attacking team. So you're going to get those opportunities, but I think he's got to be more lethal.
All right, so big question for you, because another player you've not been afraid to criticise yourself has been Erling Haaland. Who would you rather have on your team, Haaland or Nunez?
Yeah, I still think Haaland. I mean, his numbers tell you everything. I mean, and it's not just in the Premier League. He was doing that in Bundesliga with Borussia Dortmund as well at such a young age. I think Erling Haaland has to get the nod. I think it'd be silly for me to say otherwise.
While we are on Liverpool then, obviously with the current Mo Salah situation, the injury more serious than thought. According to his agent, it'll be 21 to 28 days out. He's going through an intensive rehab. He's back in England with Liverpool for that, but Egypt are hoping that he will return. They've obviously progressed in the Africa Cup of Nations. So let's get to it. Can Liverpool continue to keep winning without him?
They can, but I just don't think we can dismiss it. It's so easy to say, look, he hasn't been around. They've won a couple games now without him. And look, they're scoring goals. Diogo Jota, superb. What a player he is. And he can come in. You're going to get something out of Gakpo here and there. We've seen, obviously, Darwin Nunez taking advantage of his chances. I guess we're going to have to wait for Diaz, but I think he's still capable. But I think it's absolutely crazy to sit here and say, you know what? Yeah, Liverpool are okay without Mo Salah. It's absolutely crazy. So hopefully that situation is not going to be prolonged. I think if they can stay in touch in that time when he gets back, it'll be great for Liverpool. But I see already some saying that, yeah, they're capable. I think their chances are significantly less. But Liverpool are contenders, no questions about that. They're very much capable of winning the Premier League this season against Manchester City, who have thrown the gauntlet. But I think if there's one team and one manager that knows how to deal with that, that is Liverpool.
So right now, where are you on the title race in the Premier League with all the situations with each team?
As I've said, Manchester City have thrown the gauntlet, but if it was again straight up Arsenal against Manchester City, I would definitely go towards Manchester City. But because it's Liverpool with 5 points ahead, we've been there, done that, game in hand. Everybody getting back. Kevin De Bruyne, absolutely outstanding. Erling Haaland still to come in terms of overall quality, Manchester City. But I absolutely think that Liverpool are capable. I mean, Pep Guardiola, if there's one manager he doesn't want to go head-to-head, is not Mikel Arteta. He knows him inside out. With Klopp, he'll have an issue. They've been there. They've done that. They're absolutely capable. But Mo Salah's situation is going to be very important.
All right, let's get quickly to Manchester United because they're reported to be interested in Ajax's Broby. Is it a good or a bad idea given Ten Hag's previous Ajax signings?
Yeah, well, why doesn't he just become an Ajax manager? I mean, again, I don't know. Look, I mean, he looks great, but, watching highlights of Eredivisie with all due respect, and I love it, the attacking style. We see what they're capable of doing in Europe. Ajax has done in the past. Feyenoord the last couple of years back to their normal days, which I, by the way, like. I remember them in my younger years and PSV and all of that. But how do you judge that? I think he looks capable. So did Antony. I love Antony at Ajax. And I don't like Antony at Manchester United. And apparently, Ten Hag doesn't like him anymore. If he can get rid of him, he probably would, right? There's talk about Saudi Arabia. I don't know if those are just rumors or if it's true. But I don't know if those are the targets that Manchester United are going to be going for. I also think that Ten Hag's got to be careful. As we have seen, there are big changes in Manchester United right now. Not just in terms of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but obviously a new CEO coming from Manchester City. And I think that, those people are going to be telling Ten Hag, if they don't already, if they haven't told him already, forget about these players. We are Manchester United. We need to go after big names to right the ship.
All right, let's do our deep dive on La Liga's title race now. Very, very intriguing. And we'll start with Real Madrid, actually, because obviously it was a controversial win for them over the weekend. We'll get to that in just a moment. But I want to start with Jude Bellingham because we kept hearing on our commentary comparisons drawn to Zinedine Zidane, and we've heard that before. But what do you make of such comparisons?
It's big, but I think it's an impact, right? I mean, I never liked them because it's too early, you could say, but obviously he can deal with the pressure, can he? I mean, I don't think it's a problem for him. He probably takes that on, says, great, I want to be better than Zinedine Zidane. And the way things are going, who knows? When it's all said and done, he just may be, because what he's doing, it's incredible. Every time you're trying to look for for a bit of a hole in his game or in his leadership or the ability to take that pressure on. Because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, he is the player that's running. He's the player that's running Real Madrid. I mean, it's not Toni Kroos. He's wonderful. And of course, he does in a different way in terms of the rhythm and all that. But even as I say that, I don't know if that's the case. I think Vinny does it in a different way, but it's ultimately down to Jude Bellingham. And he shows up not just in every game, but on every play. You know, I was thinking the other day, you know, there's so much talk about Real Madrid needing a number 9. He's their number 9. And you know what? Even though that's not his best position, and ultimately they may get somebody in that, and he's going to thrive, he's going to be playing deeper, and he's going to be a great player regardless. But if they never, in the next 2 or 3 years, didn't get it, I think he's becoming a true number. He really is. You know, I don't know, call him, you know, 9.5. I don't know if that's a good.
But can you imagine if he'd scored that bicycle kick, Janusz?
You know, it's just incredible, right? Because he is a true goal scorer. We just kind of we tiptoe around that as well, but he's dangerous on every play. And every play, I almost imagine him scoring. And by the way, when you watch it closely, he's either scores or almost scores on just about every play, if not every other play. So part of me's thinking is that maybe they, you know, because there's so much talk about Haaland, there's so much talk about Kylian Mbappe, there's so much talk about FFP and how much money can be spent here, there, and everywhere. I think there may be a time where Real Madrid is going to say, do we really need to spend that kind of money when we have players like Vinny who can score, when we have players like Rodrigo who can score, when we have Bellingham who thrives in that position, when you have Joselu who comes in and score goals, right? Yes, perhaps it would be more well-balanced team if they did get a number 9. But I'm almost wondering if it's worth the money that is being talked about. Because for me, he's as good as many number 9s out there.
Okay, so as for that game, they say for Madrid, así gana el Madrid. Basically, this is the way that Madrid win. And the Madrid fans will say that because it's a comeback win and it's a late winner and everybody goes crazy. And the opposing fans, the Almeria fans, will say that because they'll say that referee decisions went their way. And there were 3 contentious VAR decisions. Where do you stand on it?
Well, yeah, you have to look first. You know, you probably saw me, you know, talk a little bit yesterday about that. I think Real Madrid would have found a way to win that game anyway. I mean, the way it was going, they were just good enough. I know it was 2-0, but there's without any of this, I think Real Madrid wins that game. But okay, so what was the first one? Penalty?
So yeah, there was. So first of all, yeah, you've got the penalty after Keiki was adjudged to have handballed. But
Not nonsense. Never a penalty in a million years. If you watch this, I mean, you know, he was going for the ball defensively the way you should, push in the back, which of course, you know, as we all know, get your arms up a little bit. Absolutely horrendous decision, and I hope that everybody understands that. Second one, Jude Bellingham.
Oh, well, also you had Sergio Ribas, where there was that 3-minute VAR check, because Loppi had caught Bellingham and fouled him in the center of the park, and then they'd gone on.
I would have let that go. That to me, I would have let that go. Not one for me. You know, I'm hearing, you know, they've been calling that in La Liga all season. They've been consistent. Okay, I'll take your word for it. If it's that, I don't like it. There's nothing to it, and there was hardly a touch there. And for me, that's not a foul.
And then the Vinny handball.
Look, I've watched this a million times right now, and with every angle, I don't know anymore. At first, I thought it was a handball. I'm starting to doubt that a little bit right now. You know, when I've seen it a million times right now, I don't know if it was a handball.
All right. So you can argue it either way, you're saying? The whole
yeah, you can, you know, that's but you know, I haven't seen an absolutely perfect angle, and you know, we get influenced by these referees. Don't have the time for it. I think it was just above, you know, by the laws of the game, it was just above. Yes, there was a motion towards it, but you know, I've scored in training, you know, a couple of times one of these where it wasn't a handball, but in training. You know, the first 2, Real Madrid gets lucky. On this one, my gut feeling from the beginning, by the way, the very first one, I did not think it was. Then, you know, I saw the replays, like, oh my God, it's a handball. But ultimately, I don't think it was.
All right, let's talk about Girona because they're going toe-to-toe with Real Madrid in more ways than one. You mentioned Bellingham as the top scorer. Dovbik's got as many goals as him, their Ukrainian striker. Girona are not going anywhere, Janusz.
No, they're not. What a story they are. Absolutely love it. I'm sure the Manchester City group loves it as well. I mean, they have a net everywhere now. NYCFC winning MLS in the last few years. Melbourne City FC, I think, has won it again. And Girona now is, wow, what a story that would have been. I mean, just absolutely beautiful way of playing. I think they're staying within their philosophy in the organization right now. I wonder if Pep Guardiola is just looking over a couple of players on that team, thinking to himself, well, maybe it's time for at least one, maybe two, to move to the city of Manchester. Absolutely outstanding.
Let me talk about two of the other teams then. Atleti obviously have just had that big win in the Copa del Rey over Real Madrid. They're 11 points, but one game behind Girona. Are they actually even in the title race?
I mean, it's harder, right? I mean, there's some big games in February, right? Speaking of Girona, we'll find out, by the way, because Real Madrid's playing against Atleti, and I think the week after they're playing Girona. Both games in Madrid. If Real Madrid wins those two games, I think they run away and win it. I still think Real Madrid are favorites to win it all. I mean, it would be a great story for Girona, I suppose, but I don't know if they can sustain that for the rest of the season. Look, this is a different Atleti. This is one that I like. What Morata and Griezmann are doing are incredible. That is a story in itself for me, right? I have a soft spot for Cholo Simeone. I think the longevity and the sort of a manager he is and how much he's gotten out of Morata and Griezmann, who, like João Felix, left, went to Barcelona, came back. One wonders what would have happened if he stayed. I almost want to say the same thing about João Felix because I think ultimately that's his place. He's just going to man up a little bit, and he's got one of the greatest managers that I think can show him the way how to stay consistent.
Well, João Felix obviously had a big, important goal for Barcelona at the weekend, and there had been talk about whether he would be, moving on and not staying around at Barcelona. But did he just change the way that they're going to see him with that goal?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, so inconsistent, right? You thought after a start that he was going to go from strength to strength. I mean, it's crazy to think how Barcelona would even keep him. I mean, financially, I don't think they're capable of doing it. So he can definitely help them, but he's been as inconsistent as ever, right? I mean, everywhere he's gone, be it Atletico Madrid or Chelsea or Barcelona. So there's something. I mean, maybe he's most consistent for Portugal, I suppose. But one player that in a way I'm disappointed, but I still believe that if he changes his mentality, and let's face it, I mean. As I said, he's got a manager. If he comes back to Atleti, which I think he will or he should, just listen to your manager, and he'll find a way to make you better.
And everything will be okay. But let's go deeper a little bit on Barcelona if we can. Is Xavi the manager you expected him to be?
No, but I never expected Barcelona to be as they are, right? I mean, that is an unbelievable fall from grace for a club like this to be in a financial situation like this where all the players seem to be getting worse. I mean, that's the story, right? When you go to Barcelona, that's a dream. Everybody always says that, no matter where you play, if Barcelona or Real Madrid call, you have to go. And yet you have players that, come to Barcelona, and it's hard to think at the moment who are the players that are getting better right now? Because, I look at Robert Lewandowski, right? I look at Frenkie de Jong. I look at Ronald Araujo, another player who, wow, was incredible last year. I mean, where is he? Where's Koundé? I mean, remember a couple windows ago, everybody wanted Koundé on their team. Everybody in Europe. Oh, my goodness, can play right back, can play center back. And I don't know anymore. I mean, we could go on and on and on, and it makes you wonder, is it just Xavi maybe it is too early. Maybe he's still learning as he's going. He's a young manager, I suppose. Got a lot of young players who he's bringing up. But I think everybody around him is not helping him. And in fact, they're failing Xavi and the club. I just think the whole situation is a mess. I never thought that Barcelona financially are going to be where they are.
Let's talk about Frenkie de Jong. It's his 5 years coming up at Barcelona. What have you made of those 5 years? Because there's been a lot of talk from Xavi lately about, he was asked if you'd had Frenkie, Pedri and Gundogan all together, all fit, all season, would things be different? And he said, yeah, they would be different. Maybe not in terms of results, but I would definitely be having more my style of play on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe in Frenkie de Jong. He hasn't gotten better, but I mean, I feel for him, right? I mean, okay, if you had Frenkie whole year, I mean, this is the Barcelona team that was begging him to leave. I mean, they wanted to sell him because they had to, right? I mean, they owed him money. They had to take a pay cut. A lot of players took a pay cut. I don't know if he's gotten paid back.
But Janusz, was that more down to circumstance because they saying you wanted to leave because you needed to bring money in and you needed to free up money? It was more that your hands were tied. As a player, you'd have rather kept you.
Well, sure, but as a player, you never wanted to hear it, right? If I'm Frenkie de Jong and they wanted him so badly and he was, in a way, a perfect fit, I would have been, if I was there, I'd probably leave him as one of the last players that I want to get rid of. I understand value, but I try to get rid of 3 or 4 players before I even mention the name of Frenkie de Jong. That's what I would do because he's an elite central midfielder. That's not going to change. Yes, he's not playing to his potential, and that's part of the injuries, maybe some of the things that I've been saying. But positionally, I mean, he's been thrown around everywhere. That's not necessarily new to him because if you remember at Ajax, I remember him playing at center back. Although I think at Barcelona he's played a couple games there as well. But I mean. At times, he's being asked to do what Busquets has done, and that's not necessarily his thing, right? I mean, he's capable of doing it, but not to a degree that Busquets had done. So I feel for him. I still think there's a player there, but I mean, I think it's hard. Maybe I'm making too many excuses, and I don't think he's been the worst. Let's put it that way.
They are 8 points behind Girona. They played a game less. They're 7 behind Real Madrid. They played the same amount of games. Are Barcelona in it?
No, they're not. It's just not. That's not going to happen. It's just Real Madrid are a much better team. Let's not forget the head-to-head situation that's going to come into play as well. So this is at a level right now that too many players are underperforming. Barcelona can't fix a lot of their problems in the market. So nothing's going to change in terms of that. And if you look at Real Madrid, just going from strength to strength, they still have a couple players to recover. When you look at the quality and depth of squad, it's not going to happen. I mean, you're talking about Girona being more of a Barcelona than Barcelona themselves, right? I mean, I enjoy watching Girona much more than I enjoy watching Barcelona.
Okay. Well, Janusz, it is always a pleasure. Make sure to be with us 3 times a week here on ESPN FC Live and with us every single night on ESPN FC. See you there.